Hello everyone. I'm going to cover really quickly as quick as I can, what happened at the last part of Act 3 in the Alien RPG Destroyer of Worlds. So the group of, spoilerific video here, but mainly made for my group members who missed it or had to leave before the end. So the group made their way through Fort Nebraska base, pushing on through alien threats and sentinels and a charger/crusher, and fought and managed to finally do that thing in. A bunch of them getting killed. Fight their way in the end to the space elevator, which they board, and they find there are just loads of eggs. It's an egg chamber, the bottom floor of it. Now this is a 3-tiered elevator, and they try sneaking through, and there's a bunch of kind of blind albino worker aliens, and they're scuttling past them this way and that, picking up eggs and putting them in. And basically Zmieski had been stung and brought into the elevator thing, and they were in the process of starting to stick him up to the wall, but it had only just kind of started, really. So yeah, with that in mind, the group tries sneaking through, and they get up to the railings, up high, and then they just make a bit of a noise, and it alerts a couple of soldier warrior aliens, and they scamper across and start engaging the group. Now the worker aliens, they don't attack, they just sort of scamper off and get off. But there's a queen in the room, and the queen is just a step too far. I mean, the thing is, yeah, she detached from her ovipositor sac, and she detached from that and came on over and decided to attack, because it's these intruders here in this one place, when all has been quiet, and they're starting to kill the aliens off, and it's pretty much from this fight the group started falling one by one by one by one. So yeah, Myers gets sort of carried off, but he will appear at the end, basically. Colonel Myers, he appears back at the end. He's basically managed to get away from the alien, bring himself to, and basically punch it in the face just to run back into the room, and then he himself gets chest burst. So it's almost like, aha, we're saved, we got back up. Whoosh! No, wait, we're not. JL gets knocked off the platform. The Queen herself goes after JL along with some aliens, and they go after her. And the group are trying to fight this, but the Queen rolled to summon sentries a couple of times. So she brings in 3 sentries, and then a couple of rounds later she calls again, and 3 more sentries will come, and it's just overloading the group. One of them, Wright, tries climbing upstairs quickly up to the next level, but runs straight into a sentry that's waiting up there, and ends up in kind of one-on-one with it. Eventually Mason manages to get up there and try to help, and it's like a 2v1 thing going on. Meanwhile, downstairs it's just a bad situation, and people are just getting wiped out, killed one after another, and Eckford goes down. She's like flamed a bunch of the eggs and that, and the Queen gets pissed off and goes for Eckford, and the sentry runs across and just explodes acid, and more of the soldiers are running and coming, and the sentries are just exploding, and aliens are basically doing their die for the Queen attack, where they just like AoE bomb themselves and just shatter you with acid everywhere. It's just awful. I mean, it gets rid of them, but it's a really bad attack, and the group sustained blast after blast after blast of this, and they were just worn right down into nothing, basically, and it was just there for the Queen to mop up. And so she kills Eckford, slashes her tail through Eckford, and runs over, and she's done in JL, and then she wipes out Captain Silver. So just one after another gets done in. So it's all seemingly, you know, hopeless. And then the Queen is, she sends the sentries up to look for the ones that are up in the lift, and they go off and start checking the levels this way, that way, and that. There's already a sentry that's in combat with a couple of these Marines, and these Marines are basically fall down. Now, it was suggested here that a point was argued, maybe Zmieski, where he hadn't had long enough to have been stuck up on the wall properly, that it wouldn't have taken so well yet. If the players had have thought of that narrative idea earlier, they could have suggested it and we could have run with it, because I'm very much a GM that's very much to do with that kind of improv, interplay, you say, I say, you say, I say, you go, I go, you go, I go kind of thing, rather than saying no, you say yes, but, or well, maybe, but like this. Instead, you can kind of do it that way. So he said, yeah, because Zmieski's just been taken, there wasn't enough resin to completely hold him to the wall. But I said, basically, to Craig, look, I'll let you grab control of him now, at this point, if you use a story point. So we're coming up with these inventive ways to like pop these story points. So he comes up with this idea of popping the story point. And Zmieski's basically, he's able to free himself, and this stunned thing, and that's to kind of overcome the stunned effect. He's such a hard ass that he would need a second dose now. It's worn off already, and he would need a second dose to really put him under again. So, you know, he tears out of this thing. He's like come to, seeing all this happening, and he hasn't had a chance yet to have been to have had a facehugger deal with him yet. So yeah, the Queen forces her way up through the other level by like acid burning the whole thing through, and then climbing up through into the next level. And yeah, at this point, the elevator at this point is screaming upwards towards the counterweight station, you know, full speed kind of thing. And they're still able to communicate with Apollo, the computer mainframe down below. And they're telling Apollo via voice link, look, Apollo, vent the airlock there on B. And Apollo's like, you know, I detect a life forms there. You know, are you sure you want me to do that? And it's like highest ranking officer kind of thing, and this kind of thing going on. Yes, I do want you to do that. Vent it. And of course, the life form is a sentry, so they managed to suck one out and then reclose it back up. And the thing's going really, really bad for Wright, and Wright goes down and is broken. The Mason gets broken, and they can't help each other, and they're just sort of side by side. And eventually the Queen gets kind of positioned. She's positioned herself where she's climbed up, kind of at the airlock as well. So Zmieski basically tries to get the airlock to pop one more time. And yeah, one of her own brood basically comes and slides at her and hits her and almost like knocks her off, and it flies off into the air as this elevator's, you know, still going up. And whoosh, you can imagine this like long shot of this alien flying out, spinning off of the elevator as it's still going up. And then, just as all this is happening, a ship that had been destroyed up in space finally collides with the counterweight station and takes it out. So the whole station's just like going up, and then within moments the base is starting to detonate, so that the nuclear explosion from the base goes off. And basically what's happening is the space elevator's got nothing between it, and then the cord just like is set to basically wrap straight off, and the space elevator's just going to come down and smash through the entire equator, and the whole thing's just going to go up and take the colony and the whole moon, you know, wipe out a whole chunk of it. Really, really bad. Like make a massive crater along and a huge scar across the moon. And the whole elevator is just going to collapse straight down into that nuclear havoc blast thing. So this thing's, you know, it's screaming up, and Wright gets sucked towards the door, towards the alien, and Mason. I mean, they're basically dead anyway, and they can't make any moves further on. And Zmieski decides, yeah, do you know what? I'm just going to climb for it. I mean, they can't do much damage to the Queen, and the Queen is, partially sucked out because the doors kind of closed on the Queen again, and basically took one of her arms off. And Zmieski had the same thing happen to him, because where it seemingly knocked the Queen out of the thing, she's secretly hanging on outside and crawling around the outside of it, as this elevator's just getting to it as high as it possibly can. And Zmieski at this point, who was sucked all the way up to the door, quickly he's like, whoa, 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 Apollo, close the airlock, close the airlock, close the air. And it closes just before he goes flying out of it, but it closes on his foot and just crushes his foot and takes it out. And he's like, yeah, and has to pull it free, the last bindings of blood and viscera. And he just basically pulls himself up and has to limp and kind of run and get to the ladder and try and climb to the final level. And he gets up there, and he has to try and make the jump. But of course, there's an explosion, and he's knocked free, and he's gone, flying off into space, and collides with a bit of another wreck of ship, and kind of holds on to that and sort of lets go again, and he's flying off through space into another bit of debris. And he's kind of able to aim himself over at this escape pod, which he manages to get into. And he opens the door, and he's freaked out as this dead body within just like floats up at him, and he's like, sort of thing. And he just falls into the ship, and so whacks the button, and it closes, and he's freaking out inside the ship. And he's just, basically, once he gets his mind back together again, in this completely mentally traumatized state, and that's permanent mental trauma, by the way, we're at here. We'd be rolling on the proper kind of you live with it mental trauma. There's a special table for that, which Zmieski would roll on. It would be great to actually bring him back, wouldn't it, in some way, with all that mental trauma now, the experiences he's had that people he meets and plays with wouldn't know he's had, sort of thing. That would be great, I think, in its way. Yeah. So, freaking out inside the thing, but he's able to eventually go into a stasis sleep there, and set the ship to a FTL. So off it goes through space. But what he fails to notice is attached to the craft, he was followed through space. Something else jumped off and tracked his path. The Queen. And just as the ship is going off with this now completely, I mean, the man's mind is destroyed. Okay? His body isn't killed, but his mind is broken. And irreparably. So it's kind of the Cthulhu death to him. He could be a danger to others, to himself. Who knows how it's going to change his personality, what it's done to him. But the Queen alien is holding on, hanging on to the craft as it whooshes away, hanging on the outside. And as we've seen, these xenomorphs can exist in space. Oh dear. And, credits roll. And that's how we ended it. Destroyer of worlds. And you know what? A world was destroyed. So I'll see you at the next game, guys. See you there.